All you can do is be available. 1 Peter 2:9. But you are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation. We talked about that earlier. Peculiar people, that ye should show forth the praises of him who has called you out of what? Darkness into marvelous light. That's on my mind. Sharp, give me Ephesians 3, 4. Ephesians 4 and 10. Just start reading in there. Ephesians 4 and 10.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
He that descended is the same also that ascended up far above all heavens, that he might fill all things.
Ephesians 4 and 10.
Yes.
Okay.
Keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And he gave some apostles and some prophets and some evangelists and some pastors and teachers for the perfecting of the saints, for the work of the ministry.
My bad. 5 and 10.
Okay.
That's on me.
Proving what is acceptable unto the Lord, and have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness.
Of what?
Darkness. But rather reprove them.
So you came from, according to 1 Peter 2, you came from what? Darkness. Now you're in light. So now a part of your job, part of our job, is to shine light on things that are in the dark. Secrets and hush hush and secret oaths and all this stuff, that's in the darkness. Because that darkness has a power, right? The prince of the air. Go ahead.
For it is a shame even to speak of those things which are done of them in secret.
Okay, so we have to get to a point to where we separate from our own personal issues, whatever they may be, because it'll be a what?
Shame.
Shame. Now, so Yahshua gonna bring you to his father, but he's shame of it. How's that gonna happen? So things, we have to get to where we personally disconnect. Got to disconnect. It's almost like getting off the well. What they say, I'm getting off grid. We gotta get off this Babylonian grid. Go ahead, keep on reading.
But all things that are reproved are made manifest by the light.
Or made what?
Were made manifest by the light. For whatsoever doth make manifest is light. Wherefore he said, awake thou that sleepest, and arise from the dead.
Awake thou that what?
Sleep.
You know what's good to do when it's dark? Sleep. Is that not what something good to do when it's dark? Is sleep. So as the world gets darker, that one slide we had, as the world gets darker, folks are going to be sleepwalking. They're going to be so bamboozled, so confused. They're going to be sleepwalking. Thank you, sir. Now let's turn to 1 Peter 1, verse 15. Hallelujah, never get there. First Peter or First Cephas, that was his real name, Cephas. Call me no Mac, but Mac, not my name. Anyway, 1 Peter 1 and 15. But as he which hath called you is Kodesh or holy, so be ye holy in all manner of conversation. Because it is written, be ye holy, for I am holy. So you want to put in your notes or put Leviticus 11 and 44, and 19 and 2, and 20 and 7. All those you find that in the Torah about being holy. So we have to find ourselves. Leviticus 11, 44, 19 and 2, 20 and 7. About us being holy in all manner. Okay? Which is how we separate. Right? But that means even how we conversate, how we talk. You know how guys do? You know how we do, fellas. But they call it locker room talk. I guess I'm a man.
Yes,
Okay.
No, barbershop.
Barbershop talk. Sometimes barbershop conversation barbershop go anywhere. Look, you talk about both sides. Who knows where the conversation go? You know. Mark 7:14. We find ourselves being separated. Mark 7:14. How we gonna get there? Mark 7:14. And when he had called all the people unto him, he said unto them, hearken unto me, every one of you, and what? Understand. We got to understand what 2020 means. We got to really understand what 2020 means and why 2020 has just, bust on the scene like a bat out of Hades. Why? So we have to hearken and we have to understand. Brother, give me 1 Peter 5:10. Brother, give me 2 Peter 1:4. Here, you go ahead and give me Romans 15. I'll read 3 and 4. You go ahead and give me Yochanan 6:44 through 45.
Romans 15, 3 and 4.
Yeah, let the first two go, then you go. I'll read it, Brother Aaron. 10.
But the God of all grace, who hath called us into his eternal glory by Christ Yeshua, after that ye have suffered a while, make you perfect, establish, strengthen, settle you.
So we got to suffer a while now. So in other words, what that means is that the bad guys, the opposing team. Look, I'm coaching a long time, and not as much in high school, but in college, you typically in a basketball game, a 40-minute game, we would say you got 3 runs. Make the games going back and forth, close game. And then one team, they jump out and get ahead. They get ahead 10 points, 12 points. Then that team has a responding run. And they come back. And then they tie the game or take the lead. And then you have the usually team that makes the last run wins. So we got to be able to handle their run. He's going to allow darkness to have a run. Not win the game, but get an advantage in the game. And then you got to survive the run. So we would go to places like Kansas, hillbilly backyard, sheep, goats, cows, and just country. They love some basketball. Folks is packed in there. Yeah, it's packed. And you have to really look, the first 5 minutes of the game, you just have to handle it. It's going to be loud. It's going to be crazy. They're going to be hooting and all. You got to survive. They're going to jump on you quick. Just got to hang in there. And then you get to the floor of the game. So the darkness is going to have a time of advantage. They're going to have some good run on the righteous. And in that, the scriptures, they expect the ones that are holy and set apart to what? To hold down the fort. You're going to have to take some body blows. Right? I can't get hit one time my side and just drop and drop my hands. Well, if I'm a boxer and if I do this, what happens? I'm about to get knocked out. So even if I get hit in the body, I just got to take the blow. I have to stay in my fighter stance. We're going to have to stay in our fighter stance now. Because the blows is coming. Mm-hmm. But don't you let your guard down and get your head knocked off. Because you getting your head knocked off, will get somebody in your household, your assembly, your community killed. Mm-hmm. Thank you, brother. Go ahead. 2 Peter 1 and 10.
2 Peter 1 and 10. Mm-hmm. Wherefore, rather, brethren, give diligence to make your calling and election sure.
Give what?
Diligence to make your calling and election sure. Uh-huh. For if ye do these things, ye shall not fall.
You have to give diligence to make sure about your calling. Ain't about Messiah being sure. Are you sure?
Yeah.
You know what you signed up for? Do you understand? This ain't about putting on fringes and zeets and chains and stuff. This is, do you know what you signed up for? That's why that's in your law. When you're about to go to the battlefield, they ask you, hey man, look, who just got married? Who got some terror? Who got some pride? They ain't got to. They go through all the list of reasons why you shouldn't be out there. To make sure, are you sure you want to fight? Are you sure you want to go? You sure you want to be a Hebrew? You sure you want to walk in the way? Are you sure you're going to give it all to Christ? Because when you see that opposing team, look, I have been places, and it's just me had to play against other teams. You look like you're not supposed to pay attention to other people warming up. You don't worry about it. I'm getting myself ready to hoop. About the corner of your eye, you know what you do? That's the elbow over the rim. He's 6'20"? How tall is he? He's 6'20". That good lying down there open. So when you see the opposing forces, when we go through this and see what you're really up against, are you sure? Well, the book says, make sure that you're sure now.
Yeah.
Because if you ain't sure, go home.
Go home.
Right.
Go ahead, brother.
Romans 15, 3 and 4. For even Hamashiach pleased not himself,
Sure did.
but as it is written, the reproaches of them that reproach thee fell on me. For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience
That's right.
and comfort of the scriptures
That's right.
might have hope.
Might have hope. That's our hope right here in this verse. We gotta have that word in us. I think somebody was talking about in Torah class about there ain't no wind, they will take the word. See, you don't understand. See, we get excited when we see white folks, so-called white folks, losing their jobs and losing their stuff because what they said during this, this like realization of systemic racism. People losing their jobs and stuff, and going off on Facebook, losing their stuff. As my big brother tell me, underlay for the overplay. If they're going to do that for your black behind, they ain't done nothing for you before. Can you imagine the new laws on hate speech? You look at get your scripture goodbye. That's full of hate speech, according to them. Full of hate speech. So they're gonna take the scriptures. So if you ain't got the word in you, I feel sorry for you. Everybody saw Denzel in the book of Eli. Man blind still got the word. There's going to be some time of darkness, but there's the word in you. If it ain't in you, have mercy on your soul. Well, my soul too. If I ain't got that word in. Who next? Go ahead, brother. Yo, for now.
No one is able to come to me unless the Father who sent to draw us.
That's right.
And I shall raise him up in the last day.
45.
It has been written in the prophets,
That's
and
right.
it shall be all be taught by Yahweh. Everyone then who has heard from the Father and learned comes to me.
So go back to Mark 7:14. We said, do you understand?
Do you understand?
So it's one thing to hear him. We got to understand him. If there's ever been a time in the history of human history, I like saying on the line, history of human history, to understand the word and the spirit of Yah, it will be now. Because clearly the earth is getting ready for things it never went through before. And ready or not, you on deck. The Lady Murphy told Martin, you on deck. Isaiah 2:12, it reads, for the day of Yah of hosts shall be upon everyone that is proud. So in other words, proud and lofty. And upon everyone that is lifted up, he shall be brought low. So in other words, there has to be an allowance of people to become proud and lofty and high. It must happen. It must happen. It is what it is. What year is it again?
2020.
2020. Okay. 2020. 2020. 2020. What's something they asked you? When last time anybody been an eye doctor here lately? Okay. Who else? Okay, so when y'all go, they make you look at that little thing and do that thing and let you know. Now, what is perfect? If they say, girl, you got great vision, it's perfect. What's it called?
2020.
What year are we in?
2020.
So you gotta have 2020 vision this year. Because we're going somewhere. We're going somewhere. Here's one place we're definitely going. You gotta go visit everybody. Hello. Sun Tzu, Art of War. Whoever is the first in the field and awaits the coming of the enemy will be fresh. We talked about last week about some of the things in Art of War is that, hey, I'm at war with you and you don't even know. Most people don't even know that there's a war going on. One of my favorite songs, there's a war going on outside, no man is safe from. Sleep well, Prodigy. Right? There's a war going on outside, no man is safe from. You don't even supposedly know it's a war going on. But he will be fresh for the fight. Whoever is second in the field and has to hasten to the battle will arrive exhausted. Therefore, the clever combatant imposes his will on the enemy, but does not allow the enemy's will to be imposed on him. Whose will is being imposed on who? What do you think? Who will was imposed when they said, hey, look, COVID-19 got to get in the house? You've heard curfew more times in your government in the last 6 months than you have your entire life. From my mama, I'm sneaking and creeping in the house. You live in that old trailer when you walk, stuff be squeaking. Curfew at midnight. My excuse was, man, you know, Swift and them, they curfew ain't till 1. What am I to do? I ain't got a way home. I'm sneaking in that house. I had my pajamas up on the little thing, ready, sliding my pajamas like I've been there. I didn't Swift. Lord help us. Ain't no sneaking on this curfew. They watching everything you do, everything they say. You got them smartphones, don't you? Record everything you're saying right now. I done got so many wild Facebook requests this last week, man. Anyway. Romans 12. Romans 12 and 1. Hallelujah. Never get there. Hallelujah.
Yes.
Amen. Romans 12 and 1, and it reads, I beseech you therefore, brother, by the mercies of Elohim, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy. So no matter where you are, no matter where we are in the world, we have to present ourselves what? Holy. Acceptable unto Elohim, which is your reasonable, that's the least you can do for him. That's what he's saying. And be not conformed to this world, conform to this world. So there's something about the world that will be opposite of Yah. The writers had an understanding about the direction of the world then. Could you imagine that? And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your what? Mind. A mental marathon. It's a mental marathon. Some days, we get tired. Some days we get what? Frustrated.
Yes.
Some days, we get agitated. Some days we don't care. Right? It's a mental marathon.
Come on.
Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and the perfect will of Elohim. So we have to be spiritually strong, spiritually stable, not emotionally driven. What you're seeing outside is emotional. Give me Proverbs 14 and 17 right quick. It's emotional. It's not leadership. That's not a revolution. You want to revolt against sin. You can't revolt against sin. Why? Because 90% of them. I'll get back on it later. Go ahead. Proverbs 14. Yeah.
He that is soon angry,
That is what?
soon angry, dealeth foolishly,
You did what?
foolishly,
Have mercy.
and the man of wicked devices is hate.
So I can play you off your emotions. I can play you off your emotions. And if you're angry, you're foolish. You're foolish. Ephesians 6. Ephesians 6, quickly. We gotta get it rolling. What's right there? Gay as I don't know what. Talking about Black Lives Matter. You gay. Sit yourself down. I want a gay person for fight up my struggle. Where you been at?
Right.
Historically, there have been riots. That's why I don't look. I ain't even bring it because it's too much. There have been riots going back to the colonial age between blacks and whites, with blacks and whites fighting against whites. I don't tell you that in history. It's been some Nat Turner, Gary. It's been so many. This out here, man, please. You need equal play. And you know of some when I ain't seen no dogs, no water hoses, no police going hard. That's happened in the 60s. If this right here is greater revolution than that, then I should see greater resistance.
Right. Right.
But you know what? Hey, don't mind me. I'm just a big dumb. Don't worry about it. Don't mind me. Ephesians 6. Ephesians 6:14. Stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth, having on the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. The word should be on your feet. Above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith you shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked. Shoot darts every time you turn around. And take the helmet of salvation, your mind. You have to have salvation at the forefront of your mind. Yahshua. You have to have a mind like Christ. And the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of Elohim, praying always with all prayer and supplication in the Ruach, or Spirit, and watching thereunto with all perseverance and supplication for all saints. So, talk about this numerous times with the vibrations and media as the devil's sword. That's one of his greatest tools is the media. Some of these we went over before about the control, the silent weapon, and gaining control of the public to keep the public undisciplined and ignorant of basic systems, principles on the one hand, while keeping them confused, disorganized, and distracted with matters of no real importance on the other hand. It's on page 58 through 57, the Polar Pale White Horse, William Cooper. Talks about giving them what they desire, junk food for thought. The more confusion, the more profit, therefore. The best approach is that to create problems and then offer the solutions. So they're going to create a problem, then give you the answer. Like COVID. In about a year, we'll have something ready for you. In about a year. Keep the adult public attention diverted away from the real social issues. Captivated by all matters of real importance. Schools keep the young public ignorant of real math, economics, law, real history. Entertainment, keep the public entertainment below a 6th grade level. So there are people out there who are adults whose understanding and comprehension is lower than his. He's a little sharp one in the 7th grade. So many people, he would run laps around people according to this. And there are people that we probably know. Yeah. Can't say it, bro. You're done with a rock. Some people we probably know now. I got some family too like this. Woo. Just don't say this. Just pray for them. Pray for wisdom. fall on. You know how that goes. Work, keep the public busy, busy, busy. No time to think. Right? Malcolm X, the press is so powerful. And in its image-making role, it can make a criminal look like he's the victim. It can make a criminal look like he's the victim. And make the victim look like he's the criminal. This is the press, an irresponsible press. So he was dealing with this back then. The power of the media now. Whew. If you aren't careful, the newspapers will have you hating the people who are being oppressed. And loving the people who are doing the oppressing.
Oh, goodness. Man.
So how hard there was. No, so anybody seen the YouTube video with all the news media outlets talking at the same time, and they're all saying the same thing?
Yep.
Yeah.
You seen that? That was- So, does anybody know about the age of Aquarius? Good. You do? Okay. I have read this, I had seen this in some of the books I have, the Committed 300, Pale White Horse, and I would read over it. I was like, I just read over it, I didn't know. And then I've noticed age all in the New Testament. The age of Christ, ages of Christ, coming age. The mystery of the age is. And for whatever reason, just sometimes you'll get stuff, it just brings you back to stuff. So there's an artist that I like, and he was rapping, he was saying something, and I was like, wait a minute. It sounds like that age thing of Aquarius thing. So I did a little research. So, and I'm not a astrology, I'm not a astronomy, so we're just gonna list to some people, that's what they do. That's their deal, that's their baby. And both of them are doctors in their field. I don't know if they're saved, I seriously doubt it. That's not the point. To understand where the other side thinks and what they believe in, what they're waiting for. And one thing I do kind of recognize is that in Revelation 12 or 15, when it talks about Yochanan seeing this virgin giving birth, right, and the dragon follows behind, we're talking about the constellations. So the stars are in a certain array, and a planet is in the belly of the star system. So the virgin, or the constellation Virgo, is pregnant. And then it was saying the sun was on her head. So the sun was in a position, the planet was in a position, the moon was in a position, the stars were, and that's how in ancients that's how they would tell. Okay, so this is kind of more along the line of what this chick's going to get into, this doctor's going to get into. And she, can you help me out back there? Beautiful love, sweetie, chocolate, thank you.
Hello, everybody. I can barely contain my excitement
See you here.
in sharing with you my next seminar, which is coming up October 1st and 2nd. It's going to be in Athens, Greece, but for those of you who sadly can't make it to the beautiful paradise here in Greece, you'll have an option to be online or to get the highlights afterwards. But let me share with you what I feel is going to be the beginning of a new era, 2020.
What year is it?
This is when we get a lineup of powerful planets, all in the sign of Capricorn. And as many of you know, since 2008, not drawing that very well, but I'm too excited, Capricorn. Since 2008, Pluto went into Capricorn. Jupiter was in Capricorn in 2008, and this was the beginning of the global financial crisis. Structures changing. In 2020, we've got Jupiter again coming into Capricorn. But not only that, In 2020, we've got Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto, eclipses, all kinds of energies in Capricorn, which to me indicates we're going to have new structures, new systems. So let's look, to me, again, what I feel is a tremendously exciting shift. And it could even be that we will look back to the time before 2020, 2021, as being an old age, and that a new era began at the end of 2020. Let me just give you some little tidbits of it right now. Hopefully, in the hope that you'd like to learn more and know more as to what it's going to mean for you. Where is this lineup in Capricorn for you in your chart? How can you plan for it during these next few years? That's the benefit of astrology. Astrology shows us cycles. So there's a cycle of Jupiter and Saturn. And Jupiter and Saturn come together every 20 years, approximately. So that's no big deal, every generation, right?
Yes, it is.
However, the change is that Jupiter and Saturn are moving into air signs for the first time since 1400s, but they've been in earth signs since 1802. And in 2020, December the 21st of 2020, the solstice, winter solstice, summer solstice, wherever you are in the world, 21st of December 2020, it goes into air. There's a new cycle that lasts until 2159. So a long time period beginning. Globally, what does it mean? Well, we're going to see an ending of coal, fossil fuels, oil, heavy machinery, heavy industry, everything around that heaviness of the earth energy. And in 1980, we did see a glimpse of it, because in 1980, Jupiter and Saturn briefly conjuncted in Libra. And 1980 was, of course, the beginning of personal computers, Google, the internet revolution. It was the beginning of all this air information technology revolution, if you like. But it really gets moving at the end of 2020. That's a very significant point when they go into Aquarius. So we're moving from this Capricorn energy. There's a significant restructuring in 2020. And then as we move on, we are fully moving into this Aquarian age, where we're going to see energy medicine, where we're going to see driverless cars. We'll have free energy, we'll have renewables, we'll have breakthroughs in battery technology, all kinds of things that are going to make it so much easier. Because air, yeah, you've not got to push against air. Of course, if it's windy, yes, you are pushing, but if you're going with the wind and you're going with the cycles astrologically, then you can fly with this energy. Think about air. I think we're going to have huge advances in aviation and ways in which we travel, transportation, communications, all of that is going to move to a brand new level, starting in 2020. Isn't this exciting?
Okay. Now, some of the things that she has said about the age of Aquarius. So from a astrological, esoteric, she was a deep process. This is what they believe. So once again, I'd seen that before, didn't really get it, and it should be in red. I think I got red parentheses around it. Could you read it for us, sister?
The nation was to be programmed to change and become so accustomed to such planned changes that it would hardly be noticeable when truly profound changes did occur.
Mm-hmm.
We have gone downhill so fast since the Aquarian conspiracy.
Since the what?
Aquarian
See,
conspiracy.
this is how they post the video.
The book title of Willis Harmon's technical paper
Mm-hmm,
was written that today divorce draws no stigma,
mm-hmm,
suicide is at an all-time high
mm-hmm.
and raises few eyebrows. Social deviations from the norm and sexual aberrations, once unmentionable in decent circles, are now commonplace to excite no special protest.
So, read that last part again.
Social deviations from the norm and sexual aberrations, once unmentionable in decent circles, are now commonplace and excite no special protest.
One reason why is because they'll make you protest of what they want you to protest for. So some people have been planning for the Aquarian age like 40 to 60 years. Writing books about it, music and songs. I'm like, huh? Well, I was not conscious. So the plan is deep. And they want to harbor, as she said, the energies of the planets being in certain position. I mean, you know what the pyramids are. You know what the pyramids are? Stonehenge, pyramids in South America. Are they positioned in specific places?
Yes.
Under stars, planets, to harbor energy. What did Shlomo say? Ain't a new under the sun. So this Aquarian age, they've been planning for a while. Right? You saw how excited she was. She was super geeked. So this is gonna be awesome if you just flow with it. Big red, I know. I got your voice back.
No, I wasn't ready.
All right. The Tavistock Institute. This book is about social engineering on the masses. That includes us. Every time you put someone on your Facebook, every time you put someone on your social media, anything like that, they know it. It goes to a database.
Read the parentheses.
Yeah, references. On page 112.
Okay. The Aquarian conspiracy. In the spring of 1980.
So what year?
1980.
Whatever year she pointed out. So, I always feel like somebody's watching me. Go ahead.
A book exploded on the scene called The Aquarian Conspiracy.
Anybody read that book before or heard of that book in 1980?
At all.
It sold over 1 million copies.
How many?
1 million.
1 million people were sure excited about it.
Right. And was translated into 10 languages.
How many?
10.
So it was global.
Overnight, it became a manifesto of the counterculture.
Of the what?
Counterculture.
Have mercy.
Defining the counterculture as a cultural group whose values and norms are at odds with those of the social mainstream.
So the Aquarian age, those who are fired up about it, their viewpoint that we are the opposite. We are the antagonists to this previous age. So an age is usually numbered by about 2,000 years. Who's the most significant power, entity named the last 2,000 years? So we see why they're excited about this new age. Because the old age is coming to an end, and a new age is coming to a beginning. So Yahshua was the old age. And the people in high places, Ephesians, we read the people in the principality of darkness, they are waiting for a new age. Keep reading, keep reading, keep reading.
And in practical terms, as a youth rebellion that swept North America and Western Europe in the 1960s and early 1970s, the Aquarian Conspiracy declared that it is now time for the 15 million Americans involved in the counterculture to join in bringing about a radical change in the United States. Wow.
I didn't write it down.
In fact, this book was the first mass publication to promote teamwork, a concept hailed as a paragon of virtue and readily promoted by business management gurus. Teamwork, however, was a psychological technique.
What kind of technique?
Psychological technique.
So we got two brain people in here. Can you not manipulate somebody's mind? And can you not? That is possible, right?
Yeah.
Right there.
Brain people and scientists and all that.
It was a psychological technique that the Tavistock Institute introduced as a way to control brilliant individuals through peer pressure.
So you ever seen like movies where, you know, you got this amazing scientist and folks in black suits walk up and say, hey, you coming with us or else? So you've seen it before. It was a movie you was entertained by. And you think like really happening.
Right.
Go ahead.
A skilled group leader can use the group to create a powerful family environment. Once this environment is induced, it becomes possible for the therapist to manipulate a member of the group, not by a direct attack, but by subtly manipulating through suggestions the other members of the group. If the victim has been sucked into thinking of the group as something warm and helpful, then when that environment has been manipulated to turn against him, it will tend to have the impact of deep motherly rejection. Furthermore, if the victim is not completely aware of the therapist's chain of manipulation, he will tend to internalize their result, thinking that he himself is responsible for this new awareness about himself. Marcus goes on to say, if the controllers can succeed in structuring a stressed individual or group situation appropriately, the victims can be induced to develop for himself a special sort of reaction formation through which he democratically arrives precisely at the attitudes and decisions.
At the what?
Attitudes and decisions the dictators wish to force upon him.
The who?
Dictators. In fact, the counterculture revolution was a cleverly concealed conspiracy from the top down, created as a method of social control through the use of difficult to identify silent weapons technology, and used to drain the United States of its commitments to scientific and technological progress. Initially, the Aquarian Conspiracy was a secret U.S. government project assigned to Stanford Research Institute and created in 1946 by the Tavistock Institute to study how newly created.
What year was that?
1946. To study how newly created cultural and social trends affect society, such as libertarianism, left libertarianism, liberalism, socialism, anarchism, communism.
So what you say?
Anarchism.
Is that not, we talked about that last week? When they leaving their gang sign all over the place, police letting them do it.
Communism, materialism, naturalism, mysticism, hedonism, spirituality, environmentalism, feminism, new age, and many other basic orientations on society.
Wow. So see how, 1946, so like after World War II. And forget fighting the Allied or Axis powers. Let's get to the real war. But at least you know. At least say you can learn that all. So Matthew 24:9, it makes sense. Verse 8. All these are the beginning of sorrows. Nations rising up, people rising up, famines, pestilence, earthquakes in weird places, people saying they are anointed, deceiving many. That's just the beginning. We get to verse 9, then that shall deliver you up to be afflicted. You have to endure persecution. So now we kind of get an idea as the new age begins. Right? They get their run. It ain't the game over, but they get their run. Brother, can you read watch the blue book, page 69? References.
Our once proud republic of the United States of America became no more than a series of criminal front organizations, which history shows is always the start of totalitarianism.
The start of who?
Totalitarianism.
Have mercy.
This is the stage of permanent alteration we are at in America. We live in a throwaway society programmed not to last. We do not even flinch at the 4 million homeless, nor the 40 million jobless, nor the 25 million babies murdered thus far. They are throwaways of the age of Aquarius.
The age of who?
The age of Aquarius.
And think about when he wrote that, how many more the numbers are now. This is book kind of old. Go ahead, brother.
A conspiracy so damnable that when first confronted with it, the majority will disavow its existence, rationalizing these events as times have changed.
So, wow. So most people are just going to be kind of, yeah, it's okay. It is how it is. It'll work itself out. It'll be how it's supposed to be. And this does sound familiar. This lady here, she gets a little bit more into what they really mean. She just kind of gets to the point. Go ahead. She's also a doctor. Which doctor?
Hello, this is Jules Maloney in Sedona, Arizona for Life the Basic Manual. And I'd like to talk about the qualities of the age of Aquarius and also the qualities of the age of Pisces that we're leaving. As you may have already been noticing for a while now, your reorientation to the qualities that we're going to be living with over the next 2,000 to 2,300 years, the age of Aquarius. The age of Aquarius is characterized by global concerns, networking, less emotional and more mental connections with each other. Love is there, emotions are there, but it's not the same as the Piscean age, which was more about devotion and kind of giving your power away to some kind of idol, whether that be a movie star or a religion. The Piscean age was about daydreamer types, artistic persuasions, but also addictions, delusions are all part of the Piscean characteristics and qualities that we've just lived through. As well as I said before, giving power away to political systems, to religious systems, and so on. And the esoteric keynote for Pisces is I believe. So you can see how the age of Pisces for the past 2,000 to 2,300 years was ruled by idealistic beliefs, and beliefs of all different kinds. Religious beliefs, political beliefs that often were had the outcomes of, if you don't believe what I do, then you are wrong, and you're not only wrong, but you're bad, and we have to fight, and so on. So these are some of the qualities of the Piscean, and there's much more than that. The Aquarian age, the keynote of the Aquarian age esoterically is I know. The Aquarian age is a shift. The symbol of Aquarius is someone pouring forth a jug of water. And what this represents is each person pouring forth for the benefit of all their wisdom, their joy, their passions, their gifts, their knowledge, their insights. That the guru is within. We no longer have outside
You're your own God.
gurus that we're bowing down to. We are going to be learning from within. As I've said many times before, actually, there are 8 billion spiritual paths on this planet. Each spiritual path for each human is utterly unique, and it comes from within. And it takes a quality of kind of your inner puzzle pieces falling together. And it's insights and revelations and knowings that come from deep within your heart and deep within your soul. And you just know. Outwardly, in the outer world, worldwide computers are part of this worldwide communication, global travel, intentional communities, group efforts, group love, a movement away from the ups and downs and roller coasters of personal emotions, of two people only loving each other, even that, into more group soul love, which can even express in sexual love. So much more of a group consciousness, group efforts, groups that are activist groups, groups that are spiritual groups, but without gurus, sustainable communities. And these younger generations, I believe, are already living in this group consciousness and came in at a time when this is the hallmark of this coming age. And you can see this with the younger people. They very much live in a group consciousness. It's also very technologically based. But so it goes. Another aspect of Aquarius is electricity. So all kinds of electricity, from in the material world, electricity, to the electrical fire of transmutation and rapid change, dynamic. Aquarius is an air sign, so it's connected with mental quickness, mental connections, global mental connections, and interdimensional mental communications, telepathy, the higher mind functions, such as clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, astral projection, teleportation, bilocation, all of these innate skills that are within the human design that I call the higher mind functions, that will be going to be becoming more and more a part of our reality, each of our individual realities, the more that we expand, let go.
She was a little bit more blunt. She said the last 2,000 years. I mean, what a waste. So we can see how people of a different thought process, different ideology, they're ecstatic about where the planets and stars are going to be because they see it's a new age and they're excited. So they're going to be running towards 2020 with their hair on fire. I'm so excited. So like we said last week, whatever they say, then for us, the saints, the believers, to set apart is the opposite. If it's going to be joy and great, it's going to be hell on earth. It's an album that came out, Jay Electronica and Jay-Z. And he made some interesting comments. And in one of his lines, he said, "You can catch this broad daylight. You know the kingdom comes, sir." So people are expecting something to happen. Whether it's the two crazy white ladies and the doctors and astrology and esoteric thought. If we're going to just keep reading, he said, the will inside a will. What do you think of when you hear will inside a will? You think of what? Ezekiel. The will inside a will, a half a mile in circumference. It's the return of the Mahdi. It's the return of the Akis. What does Aki mean?
Brothers.
It's the return of the lost tribe of Shabazz, the Anunnakis. Song was called The Binding. It's Jay-Z. And I didn't realize it really till earlier, but in the white, he has Arabic. In the white. So it's kind of hard to see. I didn't realize it. The Anunnakis. Who are the Anunnakis? From a Mesopotamian view. So just because of time, we ain't gonna go there, maybe another day, but reversing Hermann, Dr. Heiser. And then here they're called the Afkalu. But their story from the Mesopotamian cuneiform script is equivalent to Genesis 6 and Enoch. But they view the Anunnakis as heroes. So some people of this new age are waiting for heroes to come. Another song, he said, the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's my backbone. When I spit, the children on the mothership bow on the platform. That's all. The true history of Jesus coming of age. I wore a ski mask and a glove to the masquerade. Now, we have any idea of the occult world. They have masquerade parties, don't they? And you come dressed up. The true history of Jesus coming of age. I wore a ski mask and a glove to the masquerade. Song's called Universal Soldier. So what do people know? What are they expecting? So everybody has an expectation. We have an expectation. But we know the book has to become, the book is that's our backbone. So we know that powers have to fall. Powers have to be lifted up. Once again, like last week. What do these people have understanding? What do they think? What's in their mind? Why should we trust them? It says last week, what have we been warned? We warned about where we're going. 1961, Eisenhower's exit speech. Please go look it up. President Kennedy, before they put a bullet in his head, broad daylight, was a plot in this country to enslave every man, woman, or child. Before I leave this high and noble office, I intend to expose, right? We read in Ephesians 4, to expose the what? The things that are in darkness. Got a bullet in his head. 2 of them. Black Boule. So who's in on it? On the secrets. Talk about the secrets. Black Boule, Negro aristocracy. Brown paper bag society. Y'all heard that before?
Yeah.
I can't get in. They don't put that paper bag right here. They said, boy, please. Get out of here. Well, a few y'all in here, man. I ain't living. Not me. The bourgeois, the boule. Boule means hidden or an advisor. An advisor to who? Sigma Pi Phi. We're also on the rise and believed in elevating the best Negroes. This was called the talented 10th, W.B. Du Bois. Henry Thomas Walt, a multitude of black intellectuals from Tuskegee, Howard, pushed this new attack on the inferior. Minton wanted to create an organization which would partake in tenets, basis of the skull and bones. In the book of the History of Sigma Pi Phi, page 28, go check it out for yourself. That he wanted to establish something that was like the skull and bones. George Bush, Senior, Junior, John Kerry. So we have a professional athlete, I ain't gonna say his name, but he has a unique tattoo on his chest, which is very similar to the Grand Boule symbol of the Sigma Pi Phi, the Sphinx. The Sphinx Holding something in his hand, the urn. What's in the urn? Secrets. So the people who are of the boule are to protect the secrets. Now, as we are moving forward into an exciting time for them, who can you trust? Who can you trust? Eugenics in America. Eugenics was widely accepted in the United States academic community. By 1928, there were 376 separate university courses, and some of them in the United States that were leading schools, enrolling more than 20,000 students, which included eugenics in the curriculum. Margaret Sanger, a staunch feminist. Feminism, wasn't that in one of the things they had to do?
Yes.
But more driven towards birth control of the black. So you know when something's about the so-called black, and then you should know something's not about the black. So what you're seeing today is not about the black, the so-called Negro. The mask of perfume was submitting the mentally ill and deformed should not reproduce, but her heart was set towards keeping blacks from reproducing. She befriended pastors. She befriended pastors who were probably, because they understand the floorboard, they stand on the dualism of black and white. Pastors in the black community who preach about self-care and bearing children is a burden. This was Dubois lecturing on quality over quantity. Who has heard of that? Quality over quantity. That came from Dubois. You probably telling that to your grandparents. Don't have a lot of kids. My grandma had like 9. So you can kind of go back and see as time go on, folks stop having a lot of kids. It's kind of rare when you folks are like, yeah, my mom and everybody got like 7, 8 brothers and sisters. Quality over quantity was an inside job post-Civil War and pre-Civil Rights. There's a war going on outside, no man is safe from. This place, the black in a quandary in the 20th century has found a common ground against blacks. Eugenics and Planned Parenthood are active today. I do think our POTUS, I think he took some funding away from them, which is good. Eugenics in America. Hey, can you read that for me, huh? It's getting too small.
Okay. Eugenics was widely accepted in the U.S. academic community. By 1928, there were 376 separate universities, courses.
No, my bad.
You did that. Okay.
Twice.
You did.
That's the good one.
You
I did
covered
twice.
everything, baby.
My bad.
Okay.
My bad.
No problem.
Turn over. So we have people that say they one thing, Nation of Islam. You know, Jay, their rapper is a Nation of Islam too. Jay Electron. But he's also a opposite center. Which one are you? Here's Louis Farrakhan, leader of Nation of Islam, I guess. He also a Mason. Yeah, I said Z. Isaiah. Bad boys, bad boys. That slave shackle, 1852. Look a little closer. You see something? Let me get a little closer for you. No, I can't see. Have mercy. So.
Oh, I see it. Sorry. Yeah.
So.
It's the Mason symbol.
So I'm so confused. I'm just so. You want to have an organization will partake in tenets like the Skull and Bones. So we have people of like us who have a higher agenda. I call spade a spade. I'm gonna read Ephesians 1 and 26 to you right quick. Even the mystery which had been hid from the ages and from generations, but now is made manifest to his saints. To whom God, Colossians 1 and 26, down to 27, to whom God will make known what is the riches of the glory of this mystery among the Gentiles, which is Christ in you, the hope of glory. So there's supposed to be a mystery or something manifested or something about the hidden mystery that's been hid from the ages. It's supposed to be within you. But then again, we hear this one chick saying the same thing except opposite. Adversary. He's always has his parallel, no matter what. Ephesians 3. Ephesians 3, should have read this earlier about that. Verse 1. For this cause I, Shaul, or Paul, the prisoner of Yahshua HaMashiach for you Gentiles, if ye have heard of the dispensation of grace of God, which is given to me, to you ward, how that by revelation he made known unto me the mystery, as I wrote before in a few words, whereby when you read that ye may understand my knowledge in the mystery of Christ, which in other ages was not made known to the sons of men, as it is now revealed unto his holy apostles and prophets by the Spirit. So now we see how people were telling which age it was, the time it was, by the position of the planets, or the sun, or the moon, the stars, so on and so forth. That the Gentiles should be fellow heirs of the same body and partakers of the promise in Christ by the gospel, whereof I was made a minister, according to the gift of grace of God given to me by the effectual working of his power. Unto me, who am less than this least of all saints, is grace given, that I should preach among the Gentiles the unsearchable riches of Christ, and to make all men see what is the fellowship of the mystery, which from the beginning of the world hath been hid in Elohim, who created all things by Yahshua HaMashiach, to the intent that now unto the principalities and powers in heavenly places might be known by the church in the manifold wisdom of Elohim. So if that's the case, then there would be an opposite. Things of the Shemaim revealed, like the prince of the power of the air, revealed to those who want to follow him, according to the eternal purpose which he proposed in Yahshua Mashiach, our master. Brother, can you give me Ezekiel 22, 26 through 28? Can you give me Matthew 7, 13 through 15? Yep, 26 20, yep.
Her priests have violated my law,
Uh-huh.
they have profaned my holy things.
Mm-hmm.
They have put no difference between the holy and profane. Neither have they shewed difference between the unclean, and the clean, and have hid their eyes from my Sabbaths. And I am profaned among them. Her princes in the midst thereof are like wolves ravening the prey.
They're like what?
Wolves ravening the prey.
And they said they're in the midst of them?
Mm-hmm.
Like these brothers up here? Like all these? Ravening their people in the midst of them? Go ahead. Was that it?
Now keep going.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
To shed blood.
To shed what?
To shed blood.
Have mercy.
And to destroy souls. To get dishonest gain.
Do what?
Dishonest gain.
Have mercy.
And her prophets have mine says dabed. Her prophets have dabed them with untempered mortar, seeing vanity, and divining lies unto them, saying, thus said Yahuwah Elohim, when Yahuwah hath not spoken.
Go ahead, brother.
Matthew 7, 13 through 15. Enter ye the straight gate. For wide is the gate and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction.
Have mercy.
And many there be which go in therein.
Like this right here. Like all them. Go ahead, you want to read it.
Because straight is the gate and narrow is the way which leadeth unto life.
Have mercy.
And few there be that find it. Beware of false prophets, which come to you in
Like
sheep's
him? Like this brother up here?
Yeah.
Have mercy.
which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravaging wolves.
Wow.
Question coming in from Black 185 in our digital community. Said, do you think, I'm assuming, LGBT community and the Black church can coexist?
Absolutely. Are gay people also included?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Let me push that question because that's sort of an obvious yes. Church ain't turning nobody away. How should the Black church and LGBT community?
I think it's going to be diverse from church to church. Every church has a different opinion on the issue, and every gay person is different. And I think that to speak the church, the Black church or white church or any kind of church you want to call it, are all the same is totally not true. And all gay people are not the same. The types of relationships that are afforded are based on the types of people in each individual case.
Yeah.
And LGBTs are open sorts and have to find a household of worship that reflects what your views are and what you believe like anybody else. And the church should have the right to have its own convictions and values. If you don't like those convictions and values, and you totally disagree with it, don't try to change my house, move into your own. And establish that sort of thing and find somebody who gets what you get about faith. And trust me, I've talked to enough LGBT, they are not all the same.
Oh, for sure. No, Christians.
No.
But how do we, so as you're thinking involved in this?
Evolved and evolved it.
That's good.
Okay.
All right. So this will be the direction of, I think we just read Matthew 7 and we read Ezekiel 22 of the prophets in the midst of them. They're not his, but they're going to spew lies and the people are going to follow. And the irony is we're heading into a new age, the Aquarian age, which is I think what the one chick said, full of love. Group love.
Group love.
Remember, wolves and sheep clothing.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody familiar with that? My baby boy, I don't know where that. My baby boy, he saw it. He said, "Hey, I know what that is, Daddy." I like, what's that, Gooey?
What is it, Joe?
He said, "That's what they snuck in there to try to get in the city. Then they had people on the inside." So, do we see the Trojan horse? Are we conscious? This is Black Lives Matter. It's a website. What we believe. You read it at first, 4 years ago, it was known as the Black Lives Matter Global Network, began to organize and started out as a chapter-based, member-led organization. It should have George Soros, but does it, whose mission was to build local power and to intervene when violence was inflicted on Black communities by the state and vigilantes. In the years since, we've committed to struggling together and to imagining and creating a world free of anti-Blackness, where every Black person has the social, economic, and political power to thrive. We are unapologetically Black. I'm sorry. We're unapologetically Black in our positioning and affirming that Black lives matter. We need not to qualify our position. To love and desire freedom and justice for ourselves is as a prerequisite for wanting the same for others. Do that part again. To love and desire freedom and justice for ourselves is a prerequisite for wanting the same for others. We see ourselves as part of the global Black family. We are aware of the different ways we are impacted or privileged as Black people who exist in different parts of the world. We're guided by the fact that all Black lives matter, regardless of actual or perceived sexual identity, gender expression, economic status, ability, disability, religious beliefs or disbeliefs, immigration status or location. We make space for transgender brothers. We make space for transgender brothers and sisters to participate and lead. We are self-reflexive. We do the work required to dismantle cisgender privilege. Well, cisgender.
All y'all up in here.
Yeah, like you're going by what you were born.
So whatever you were born as, you agree with what you are.
Yes.
So we are reflexive and do the work required to dismantle cisgender privilege. Now, these are the fools that's leading your protest, so-called black man. I hope you're paying attention now. I hope you see that. That's who leading your fight. We'll come in and help you. So when you put that on your page, when you support that, this is what you support. It's a shame if you're a Christian now. Because this is who you're sleeping with. This is their website.
That's it.
BlackLivesMatter.com. What we believe.
Hey, what we believe.
Oh, right.
We are self-reflexive and do the work to dismantle cisgender privilege and uplift black trans folk, especially black trans women who continue to be disproportionately impacted by trans antagonist violence. We build a space that affirms black women and is free from sexism, misogyny, and environments in which men are centered. We practice empathy. We engage comrades with the intent to learn about and connect with their context. We make our spaces family friendly, enable parents to fully participate with their children. Goes against the Shema, don't it? Goes against the Biyah in Deuteronomy 6:5-7, don't it? Supposed to teach them the ways of Yah. When you're tired, or when you rest, or when you on the way. We dismantle the patriarchal practice that requires mothers to work double shifts so that they can mother in private even as they participate in public justice work. We disrupt the Western prescribed nuclear family structure requirement by supporting each other as extended families and villages. Remember, Aquarian age, group love, group think. That collectively care for one another, especially our children, to the degree that mothers, parents, and children are comfortable. We foster a queer-affirming network. When we gather, we do so with the intention of freeing ourselves from the tight grip of heteronormative thinking, or rather the belief that in all the world are heterosexual, unless he or she, they disclose otherwise. Science is real. Black lives matter. No human is legal. Love is love. Women's rights are human rights. Kindness is everything. So we see the Trojan horse.
Very true.
What's the Trojan horse? Black folks are getting killed by the police, and this, we're gonna rob, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, we're gonna do this. There's a Trojan horse. Because the true agenda, if you ever sign a contract, if you ever do something, what they call it, fine print. When you get into this page, you know what you find? You find what's really important in that fine print. So when we see Black Lives Matter, like we see them now, why they got all the rainbow stuff?
Yes.
So you cannot. So if you associate with them, they are expecting that in return you're going to stand with us. So as I use you and you help us BLM, I have to now be with you also. And all those different genders and identities and beliefs, I have to become a part of. Because we're in cahoots. I stepped up for you, so-called black man. We're burning cities down. We're burning police departments down for you, so-called black man. And really not even you, so-called black man. I don't care about you. You get to the root of it. Queer and trans Black Lives Matter. Silence is violence. Pastor Dr. Freddie Haynes. He conscious. In his church in Philadelphia, he got a big old church. You know what he got? He got a big old ankh. Y'all know what the ankh is, don't you? So instead of having the typical cross, he has the ankh because he's conscious. He stands with Cap. He talks to black talk. Talks to hip hop. Let's hear what else he says. Precious.
Yes.
If you can go to 8:15. My bad.
Did you do that? Okay.
Yes.
8:15.
You can go to 8:15.
That God is trying to drive in scripture.
Love, forgiveness.
There it is. Love, forgiveness, freedom, empowerment of the oppressed,
I know. It's tough.
being concerned for those who are impoverished. If you ain't dealing with that, I mean, I'm real concerned about your interpretation.
Because you didn't listen to the Bible, and the Bible says, "Thou shall not send my king to Howard University." And
It's Howard very
you
gay.
said you're doing it at Howard. So you not listening to the Bible.
Hey, shout out to the real HU.
What is it about that inspires you though? Because you use hip hop.
8:15. When we stop at 11:53. Pastor Freddie Haynes.
I'm real concerned about your interpretation.
Because you didn't listen to the Bible,
You
and the
said
Bible says,
eight.
"Thou
Sorry,
shalt
8:15, yeah.
not send my king to Howard University."
8:15.
8:15. There we
Who
go.
use the context of the Bible to speak out against homosexuality?
Listen.
Well, again, I think that they're taking it out of context. If we're gonna keep it a buck, number one, you got 8 passages of scripture that they misuse in order to abuse that community, the LGBTQ community. 8 passages of scripture, maybe, because some of them, if we're honest, biblical scholars say they refer to pedophilia. And because there is no word in Greek or Hebrew for homosexuality. So the bottom line is you got a lot of lying going on in order to justify their own theological agenda, which is rooted in their own psychological issues
Doesn't it say
that
being
they've
gay?
never dealt with.
Doesn't it say being gay? No, it says man on man is an abomination or something like that.
Okay, but again, when you deal with it in terms of the original language,
You say, okay, but.
and again, 8 passages of scripture, maybe it's a big Bible, and you're gonna pick 8 passages to be passionate about. Okay, you got some issues that I'm real concerned about, especially when Jesus said the greatest commandment is to love your God, love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, and your neighbor as yourself. Especially when the dominant narrative of Jesus was love, and you use the Bible to hate on a community that you have issues with. And here's what gets me. The more you dig into those who use and misuse the Bible to abuse a community, the more you discover, okay, who you been sleeping with?
Yeah.
You know, what's up with you? And so it's kind of like, who was it? Strom Thurmond or Jesse Helms, who was such avid segregationists and racists.
They're sleeping with black women.
Sleeping with black women.
Baby bun.
So my thing, exactly. So my thing is, anybody.
Black church. Here too. One is a kind of, I don't know, T.D. Jakes is what, he's an established leader. And you got an up and coming new rising leader. And you see where they go. We head into this new age. You see where they go. And somebody, I'm reading Titus 2. Titus. My bad. Folks so crazy, throw me off. Kind of gave Titus extra book. Titus 3 and 13. No, I'm sorry, 2 Timothy 3 and 13. My bad. 2 Timothy 3 and 13. But this is what scripture says. This is what scripture says. But evil men and seducers shall wax worse and worse, deceiving and being deceived. But continue thou in the things which thou hast learned and hast been assured of. Remember, we talked earlier, making your election sure. Knowing of whom thou hast learned them, and that from a child thou hast known the holy scriptures, which are able to make thee wise unto salvation, which is supposed to be our helmet. Because we have to have a mind like him in a world that is going a new direction, period. unto salvation through faith, which is in Yahshua HaMashiach.
Oh, yeah.
All scripture is given by inspiration of Elohim and is profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, and instruction in righteousness. He missed that part, didn't he? He meant TD Snatch. Both of them missed it. For instruction in righteousness. So the laws of the land. The laws of the land. Can you read 13? Yeah, it goes later. 13:23.
Which one? It's a few.
Okay, on that one, parentheses and green.
Okay. All right. The Club of Rome, after playing the key role in the Cuban Missile Crisis, attempted to sell its crisis management, the forerunner of FEMA.
The what?
Forerunner of FEMA.
Y'all, you heard of FEMA before?
Okay, it attempted to sell it, the program to President Kennedy. Several Tavistock scientists went to see the president to explain what it meant, but the president rejected the advice they gave. The same year that Kennedy was murdered.
Read 23, page 23.
The green.
Parentheses.
Oh, wait, I'm on the wrong page. Yeah. These files will be subject to instantaneous retrieval by the authorities. Powers will gravitate into the hands of those who control information. Our existing institutions will be supplanted by pre-crisis management
By what?
institutions. Pre-crisis management institutions, the task of which will be to identify in advance likely social crises and to develop programs to cope with them. This describes the structure of FEMA, which came much later.
See how deep the war is against you? Now, let's pay on pages 45 and 46 of this book, we'll have to read it, but it talks about something that actually happened in 1979. Who was around in 79? My bad, I raised my hand. I wasn't around in 79. Okay, no, that's all right, barely. So this is something that happened in 79. This day in history, March 28th, 1979, was a nuclear accident at 3 Mile Island. They talk about this in this book, but it was a practice run established by, there's your rising phoenix, there's your pyramid, some Greek stuff. But long story short, they made it seem like there was a big nuclear spill, but it really wasn't. And they wanted to see how people would react, and they bit. So COVID-19 was to see how people would react, and they bit. Greg Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, they wanted to see how you will react during COVID. You're in a stress situation already. Can I get you in the streets? Look how famous section off. So methodical, so cool. Look at that. Every region of the country. There's plenty of FEMA bases, headquarters in each section. It's like they're planning for something. It's gonna be a mental marathon now. You sure you want to be Hebrew? You sure you want to walk in the way of truth? So I gotta do is just follow everybody up wherever they go. Seen this in them trucks, and stuff on tanks, stuff on trains. Never thought it was for you though, did it? One time I hear about FEMA when there's a storm coming through. FEMA coming to help, they bring them food, bring them water. Mobile homes for FEMA. That's to help people, when you get bad straight. Gonna help you. Gonna help you. It's kind of like Esau when he told Yaakov. Esau gave Yaakov that kiss, didn't he? He said, hey, let some of my men stay here with you. He said, no, I'm super straight. But you won't believe what Judas Iscariot did when he first said, Master, Master. And he ran up on him and kissed him on the cheek.
Yeah.
Put that Sonya Blade, kiss of death, to rest, don't you? Got nothing. What Esau and Judas was trying to do. Sonya Mortal Kombat, remember that? She had a kiss of death, burn you up. I know you know. In that same book, this talks about the Human Resources Research Office. This is an Army research establishment dealing in psychotechnology. Most of its personnel are Tavistock trained. Psychotechnology covers GI motivation, morale, and the music used on the enemy. You're the enemy. We're the enemy. This type of brainwashing is terribly dangerous because while it is applied to the Army today, an Army applies it to brutally destroy thousands of enemy soldiers. Tomorrow, the Army could be told that the civilian population groups opposed to government policies are the enemy. FEMA. James 1:22 it reads, but be ye doers of the word and not hearers only. Here's why. Deceiving your own selves. You can be in the way and deceive yourself. You can be in the way and deceive yourself. Look, I know it's getting late, and I'm just gonna go ahead and stop, and we'll pick up this last couple sections here are going to be about the old gods worship in a new age. I will read this quote here from the same book. The United States is being transformed from one nation under God to a polyglot of a nation under several gods. The United States is so not even just your regular Christian, just if you was a strong Christian, man, you still did Christmas, and them are different gods. But he's saying, look, it's about to be wild. Right? What them two ladies were so excited about. If you notice what she said telepathy, the second lady. Who are you communing with? What is so unique about the planets being in such an array, and how much energy or power will be exuded where people can now communicate with someone? Is this why Fox and CNN, remember I've been showing y'all little by little, hey, there's extraterrestrials out there. Hey, there's other things out there. Yeah, they're out there. I guess during the Aquarian age, they'll pull them out. As I think Jay Electronica said, right? The return of the Mahdi, the return of the Akis. The lost tribe of Shabazz, the return of the Anunnakis. They know something. The United States is no longer a nation under God. The framers of the Constitution have lost the battle. Facts. Now understand, so-called black man, that it had nothing to do with you. I might jump to this part. It ain't got nothing to do with you, so-called black man. All the stuff you see out there ain't got nothing to do with you. It ain't got nothing to do with you, so-called black man. It ain't got nothing to do with you. It ain't got nothing to do with you. It's about destroying the country and reestablishing it. So if the country was built by the so-called white man, then who got to be taken down? So-called white man. Well, which white man? Well, let's talk about the white man. The white man we're talking about is the white man that believes in his First Amendment. I have the right to what? Speak. Say what I want to say. That's my freedom. It's my religious practice. The other white man they're talking about? Amendment number 2, the right to bear what? They ain't worried about no so-called black man with guns. They gave you guns. Most black communities, they gave them guns. I can remember it was Goody Mob Outcast. And they had a song years ago. They said, look, you sitting there talking about you got gas. Man, they gave you gas. They got gas to blow your back out from where they stay at. Good Mob out there, one of them two. Probably was Good Mob.
Probably was.
Because I'm like, man, you bragging about it. They gave you the good. So they're not worried about the so-called black man and guns, but the conservative, Bible-believing, First Amendment white man, you're next, man. You're on deck. They so-called Negro. It ain't the Arab man, it ain't the Mexican man, it ain't any other man. It's the so-called white man. Have to tear down this Constitution and build something else up. You're next.
Right.
And because you've allowed so much stuff to happen to the so-called black man, you're next. I used to watch Elmer Fudd and Bugs Bunny. Bugs Bunny have a saying, ain't no fun when Rabbit got the gun. A couple times Bugs Bunny take the gun from Elmer Fudd. Well, fuck it, so you get to get stutter. You stutter, you get to stutter then. But Bugs Bunny got that gun on. And this is what we're witnessing.
Mm-hmm.
Remember what the scriptures about the times of the Gentiles must be what? Fulfilled. I know it's getting tired. I know y'all getting tired. We are constantly fed the belief that the United States is multicultural society. Talk about this in Torah class.
Mm-hmm.
There should be one way, right? If you're an Israelite. But the rabble, different cultures, the United States is a multicultural society. This is not something we should let get past us. No nation can be multicultural and survive. If we have one culture, that being the one laid down by the United States by our founding forefathers, or else we will disintegrate to a fragmented, ungovernable society. The evidence of multiculturalism is all around us. So-called black men, this ain't got nothing to do with you. I'm going to use you. I'm going to use your name. I'm going to use your likeness. And I'm going to do all this stuff. You're my Trojan horse. What it's really about, right, is establishing something new as the people who are in the elite and worship Lucifer. Or Luciferianism, Satanism at a high level. It's their time to shine, baby. It's their time to go on their run. So with that being said, we'll stop there. We're going to pick up on old gods worship in this new age. It's a lot of stuff. I'm sorry, y'all. But it's just the era that we live in. We're going to be bombarded with lies and deceivingness. And I think we got a good warning with COVID-19 when people of your family and people be like, hey, man, if you got your shot, you got your shot yet? If you don't think there's going to be, how many of you have heard of 731-246 tips? You call in, you know somebody, you can get paid for tips, dropping dimes. So just different areas where you live. Just different areas where you live. You can call in and say, yeah, hey, I know who robbed that store. So if you don't think there's going to be a hotline for people who ain't got vaccinated, for people who is doing things that's against the new law, you smoking something. You is not conscious. So this is the area that we're headed to. Such a time as this, year 2020. And they are excited about the end of the era of Christ. As the one lady said, no more idolatry. Who do you think she was talking about? You got to read between the lines. Who is she talking about? What idol are you talking about? So we're just going to pick up, and there's a lot, and that stuff make your head heavy, but we have to rejoice because this means that Mashiach is really coming. Messiah really is coming. So while they're celebrating and about to let their hair down and be who they are, we're going to be fighting for our lives. It's okay. That means redemption draws nigh. And that's why we read in the Bible that we have to exhort one another. We have to start exhorting one another. Not just say, hey, what's up, what's going on, to say, hey, before we separate, hey, may the Most High be between you and me while we set, as Abraham said alive. Those things we have to start practicing and putting in within us, because we have to start lifting each other up. Because as times change, I don't go too far. FEMA if President Trump calls FEMA, that means that it's a state of emergency, a national state of emergency. And if he calls in the military, it's because things are so out of control. Things are so out of control. So, in order to establish something, that's the credence of the phoenix, that from chaos comes order. Watch the X-Men. Jean Grey. Within her, she had to die down for the phoenix to rise, this power to rise out. Now you're better, Jean. You're killing everybody. You're better this way. And that's what they believe. That's what they believe. So we have to hang tight, hold in tight, support one another, love one another, make sure we are preparing to get that government money. We blowing that government money. Do something good, do something smart with that money. Don't be blowing it. Do stuff that's right. You start gardening and start doing all that stuff, start exercising, running, lifting, whatever you do, just start preparing, walking, just start doing stuff. Be ready. Be ready. Because all of the righteous men in here and women, they weren't done now. They understood, as think Yahshua said, you understand the signs of the time. We understand the signs that we're in. Shalom.